Good morning. Welcome to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the cool, chilly, and wintry like conditions of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack. And as well as on Trevo and on Podbean. This episode, guys, is going to be episode 96. This is going to be the continuation, or more or less the finalization of Week 13 games that I was able to watch and more or less do some intel and really do a deep dive and dig into. So happy to be here with you guys as always. Thank you for watching and listening. I love you guys for it. The show's growing tremendously, like I said, and actually, I'm going to do something real close, real special to my heart. Towards the end of the year, I have an episode coming up that I want to do. It's like a recap of some of the, it's going to be a montage of some of the dopest moments and best moments from the show from this year. And just more or less a thank you to you guys for watching, subscribing, listening. I thank you as always. The show would not have gotten to this point without you guys. So thank you. With all that being said, though, hopping into this episode, this game was near and dear to my heart. I watched it, was pulling for Cincinnati, but they just couldn't really get it done. Bengals in a heartbreaker lose 38-44 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was a snatch your heart type of game where Cincinnati jumped out to an early lead. They had momentum, had it going, and then all of a sudden Pittsburgh just stepped up, turned the burners on, turned the heat up, and Cincinnati just reverted back into the Bengals that they've been this year. This has been by far one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this year. I know people who talk shit about the Jets, and I personally didn't really expect shit from the Jets, and I don't think really anybody substantially, anybody of substance really thought the Jets were going to really be anything special this year. They had an opportunity, but disappointing, I loosely have put them in that category. The Bengals are what I would classify as the disappointment this year. You got guys coming back. You can't tell me the contract issues haven't been a factor. Jamar Chase not getting his money, T. Higgins not getting his money, letting guys go like Jesse Bates, Joe Mixon, just a lot of influx and just fuck shit going on. Mike Brown and the Bengals being the Bengals. So be that as it may, it just kind of seeped into the team this year, and it's very easy to see. Once Calvin Austin scored that touchdown and the Steelers were able to tie the game up, you kind of just felt like, all right, Bengals are still in this. The running game was working for him. I mean, give credit to Chase Brown. 12 carries, 70 yards. He had a touchdown on the game for that day. Just not enough, though. Needed way more. Khalil Herbert had 1 carry for 14 yards. Not enough. Not enough. I even liked how Burrow looked. I mean, Burrow was 28 of 38, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, but that costly interception, it between the decision making this year, and he's played phenomenal. I mean, he's played at a Pro Bowl level this year, but it just really has not molded and gelled the way they wanted to. I blame the front office. I mean, it was just so many things, man. Like I said, from the decision making, and then Zach Taylor, he's not absolved. His clock management was just weird at times. Some of his play calling at times is just very, very inconsistent. But shout out to Russell Wilson as well. 29 of 38, 414 yards. Russell had a game. Russell has proven, doubters like myself and other people wrong. He is not washed. He is not washed. He needed to be in an organization, a situation that curtailed to his skill set. The play action game, heavy reliance on the run, a couple moon balls, deep balls down the field to the receivers who could make some plays, and, let the defense do its job. So, it's been a formula for Pittsburgh all year. Credit to them. They ran the ball outstandingly on last Sunday. 26 carries for 110 yards, 1 touchdown collectively. Najee Harris was responsible for bulk of that, 16 for 75. Again, Steelers are sticking to their game plan. They are who they are. But the ball distribution by Russell Wilson was what was so amazing. Again, 29 completions, 414 yards collectively, 3 touchdowns. Pickens got in on the action, of course. I'll touch on him in a second. Pat Freiermuth got in on the action as well. He scored. And again, I like how it's being divvied up. You got the guys are touching the ball between 3 to 6 catches. They're averaging between 3 and 6 catches. The targets are anywhere between max 7 to like 1, so minimum 1. So I give Russell credit. The ball distribution has been terrific this year. He's been covering up a lot of flaws that Arthur Smith's game plan sometimes can't, cover up for the team. So I give Russell a lot of credit for that. Russ was amazing. Key takeaways, Russ was amazing in this game. The Pittsburgh offense really showed how explosive they can be, which is dangerous, especially going into the AFC playoffs. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. And Joey B, he just, Joe Cool didn't play that well. Joe Burrow didn't play that well today. He really didn't. In between the inconsistent play calling and everything, there's no way this team's going to make the playoffs. They're done. Just so much that needs to happen. And then after that loss, they're 1-5 at home. They're not making the playoffs this year. And they just have to accept the fact that they blew a great opportunity. It was there for the taking, But again, this ultimately comes down to the front office. If you'd have paid these guys or traded T. Higgins earlier or just figured it out, there's got to be a way you could have figured it out. You've got this team leaking oil, and you had a team that was just in the Super Bowl 3 or 4 years ago, and now it's like nothing. I don't understand a lot of times how these organizations command a lot out of their players. Joe Burrow, I give him so much credit because I'll be honest, if he wasn't from Ohio, I'm not sure he plays for the Bengals. I'm being completely honest. Not trying to be disrespectful, facetious in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I really mean that. If he did not live in the state of Ohio, was not born and raised in the state of Ohio, I'm not sure that he could have easily have been the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, because his talent screams, get me the fuck out of this organization. It's too late. He's made a commitment. He's there. That's not the type of guy he is. He's not going to run. But they better get this Jamar Chase situation handled. You're going to lose T. Higgins for nothing, which is just a fucking travesty when you really think about it in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, major disappointment, but got to give Pittsburgh credit, proving a lot of people wrong. But before I end this segment, I wanted to talk about George Pickens. I like George Pickens as a player. I think George Pickens has an immense talent. I think he could be one of the top 10 receivers in football. His immaturity is a fucking problem. His immaturity is a fucking problem. And I get it. He's young. He's still trying to figure his way through shit. He's still figuring it out. And I get it. But this dumbass decision-making that he tends to run into, where he's like, gotta shit on somebody or prove them wrong or one-up them, showmanship type shit, it's going to cost the Steelers in the playoffs. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. It is going to cost them. He has to button this shit up. I'm not sure. I'm not understanding why. I get it. The dog come out in you when you playing. The savage comes out. I completely get it. But you got to rein that shit in to a degree, because when you're talking about playoff football, yeah, you can get away with that shit in the regular season. In the playoffs, that's the difference between converting a first down and then a penalty reversing you, and now it's 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 20. And now you've given the team possession and you down by 3 or down by 7 or down by 14. So he's going to have to get it together. Next game on the docket, which was very, very surprising. This one kind of shocked the hell out of me. This one was Cardinals versus Vikings, which I must tell you, the Cardinals definitely have to walk away. This was another snatch your heart game. If you're the Cardinals, you have to feel completely disappointed. You completely fucked this game up, shit the bed. You had Minnesota on the ropes. It was just disappointing if you're a Cardinals fan, for more or less. But you're looking at this game and it was tight in the first half. Defensive game. You can see both teams kind of filling each other out, seeing what the weak spots are. You know, it was good football. The Cardinals defense, credit to them, they were looking sharp early, just like Minnesota's was. However, once Cardinals were getting in the red zone early and weren't able to score points, I thought that was a sign because, again, you guys hear me say this on the show all the time. If you're kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, you're going to get your ass whipped. It's just that simple. You have to score touchdowns in the NFL, especially in this day and age, in this game, you have to score touchdowns. If that's the name of the game. If you can't do it, you're going to lose because you're kicking field goals. And getting in the red zone a lot, you know, I mean, and I don't understand because sometimes you see offenses kind of breeze down the field quick as hell, boom, 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 boom. But as soon as they get in that red zone, that 5 inches of space, 5 yards, can't get it. I mean, it's remarkable. But that's definitely something that Arizona is going to be regretting. Also, too, I loved how when shit was looking bleak where, you know, Sam Darnold couldn't really get it going. The offense couldn't really go on. You had 2 major fumbles by Aaron Jones early in the game, which really didn't look good for Minnesota. Like I said, Minnesota was behind the 8 ball. You know what I mean? You had some real screwy shit going on where it was like, I don't know if they're going to win this game. But again, credit to the Vikings for pulling through, persevering. I think, too, as well, this game really changed with the Kyler Murray interception. That kind of swayed things going into the second half. And then Minnesota taking over. Minnesota really saved their ass because if they lost this game, it's not like necessarily the Cardinals are just shitty and they're laughing because they lost to the Cardinals. Excuse me. You're more or less saying, Minnesota, you're one of the top teams in the NFC. And you couldn't do this at home? You were struggling this mightily at home? Cardinals had opportunities and should have took advantage. I mean, you get, again, in the red zone, you get in the other side of the team's, you know, field, and you can't punch it in. You know, you got Marvin Harrison getting bodied on that last play. I mean, it was just a lot. It was a lot. Cardinals are still a ways to go before they're a complete team. Definitely still need offensive line help. You got to definitely get some more talent around Harrison and McBride. Running game, another back to complement Connor would definitely help. But this team definitely blew this game. I mean, they killed Minnesota in time of possession, 35 minutes and 49 seconds to Minnesota's 24 minutes and 11 seconds. But the penalties, 10 penalties, 96 yards, that'll put you back. That is a major fucking killer right there. Rushing the ball, you even outrushed Minnesota. But the penalties, the turnovers, and then here we go, 4th down, the key to the game. You're stopping Minnesota on 3rd down. Minnesota was 1 of 8 on 3rd down. Minnesota really couldn't get much of shit going on 3rd down most of that game. You're 5 of 13 on 3rd down. But here's the difference. Just like with Green Bay and Detroit on Thursday Night Football, 4th down. That's the money down now. We have to really accept and get in our minds now watching football games that 4th down is not a down necessarily just a punt or kick. That if the situation calls for it, it's an extra down. 3rd down is now just an extra down. 4th down is literally, hey, 4th and 2, 4th and inches, 4th and 1. Hell, some teams go for 4th and 7. Depending on the situation and goal to go distance, you may have to go for it. So Minnesota 1-1 on 4th down, crucially when they needed it. And let's be honest, if Sam Darnold and them don't complete that 1st down, the game's over. So credit to the Vikings there. But the Cardinals, yeah, they have a lot of flaws. They still got to get it together. Like I said, and then Murray had multiple interceptions, so that didn't really help. You know, and the Vikings were able to eke it out 23-22. It's just, yeah, it just wasn't really great. Kyler Murray was 31 of 45, 260 yards, 1 touchdown. Like I said, 2 costly interceptions. Sam Darnold was 21 of 31. He had 235 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. The running game was definitely there for Arizona, you know, between Kyler and James Conner. They were pretty much the bulk of it. You know, Trey Benson, definitely. Shout out to my, you know, Florida State Seminole, Trey Benson, definitely putting in work. You know, had little splashes in there from DeMarcado. So altogether, it was like 31 rushing attempts for 154 yards. So, again, you outrushed them. You know, you passed better than them. But the penalties and the turnovers, that'll cost you and kill you every time. So, that one was definitely on Arizona. They did everything they could possibly to lose the game down the stretch. Key takeaways outside of those things, yeah, like I said, Cardinals did everything they were not supposed to lose a football game. Turnovers almost cost the Vikings today. It was definitely almost costly. And it seems eerie, but watching this team, they seem very reminiscent of the 2022 Vikings. And if we remember, that was that last real great Kirk Cousins team where, they looked good, made a lot of great plays, won some thrilling games down the stretch. Teams were kind of scared. You were kind of like, ooh, one of the wild card teams run to Minnesota. Minnesota is definitely getting to the second round of the playoffs. And they choked. So I'm not really sure what to make of this Minnesota team. It's like I said, the Cinderella slipper, I said this a few weeks ago, the slipper fell off. This team is starting to get exposed in a lot of different areas. Sam Darnold is limited. And I don't give a damn how many times you throw it to Justin Jefferson. If you can't complete third downs consistently, especially when you're getting ready for the playoffs, it's going to cost you. And this, like I said, this team just looks very reminiscent of that 2022 team. Not sure how or when things may break up for them or when it may all fall apart. Like I said, it could be down the stretch now, could be in the playoffs, but I don't see this team going far or making a huge jump because they're just so ineffective at times. I mean, you're watching them, there's parts of the game where they stall, segments where the offense really can't do shit. And you're just like, how is this possible when you have Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson? And keep in mind, the real key to this offense is not even the wide receivers. It's Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones is going, this team is hard to beat. But make no mistake about it. When you limit Minnesota's rushing attack, that's how they get into games like they did against Arizona. Arizona should have won this game. They blew it. Hands down. Hopping into the last game that I watched from Week 13. This one will probably be the shortest one that I talk about because it was just an utter ass whooping. The Buffalo Bills defeating the 49ers 35-10. If you're the 49ers, you could say snake bitten this year. Bad luck, Super Bowl hangover, whatever the fuck you want to call it or say it is. It's definitely that. They've just been a shell of themselves this year. They looked cold. They looked like they didn't want to be there in Buffalo. And it was weird because I won't lie. When Christian McCaffrey was healthy to start the game, looked like, okay, might actually be a decent tight game. Like he's running the ball, all right, not too bad. And then disaster strikes. He gets injured, bangs his knee up against the turf, and you kind of saw like, maybe it was that, But then he's running, and then he slides down, and then just like jogs off the field. You kind of knew it wasn't really good after that. It was really a bad situation. And again, he had 7 carries for 53 yards, so he was getting touches. It just sucked that, it wound up being that way for him because I kind of knew it when he got on that Madden cover. I said, they're done because he's their offense. And it's bad enough trying to win games when you're limited. It's even harder when your best player is injured for most of the season. I mean, he missed the first 8 games. He came back, hadn't really looked like himself, really. And then all of a sudden he's back in it, and it's like, oh, yeah, he's nowhere near where we need him to be. And now he's finally starting to get his legs under him, and boom, injured. Both teams couldn't really throw the ball that much. I mean, both quarterbacks had around 17 or 18 passing attempts due to the weather. So it wasn't like it was a huge passing attack game. But if it gives you any indication how ineffective the passing game was for San Francisco that night, Brock Purdy had 94 yards passing on 18 attempts. So a lot of dinking and dunking. George Mason got in on the action, of course, with the McCaffrey injury. He had 13 carries, 78 yards. Wide receiver-wise, outside of Jawan Jennings and a couple of Deebo Samuel plays, really nothing. I mean, George Kittle had 1 catch for 7 yards. How do you not find a tight end in weather like this? I don't know. But that's just been the story of the 49ers this year. But the Bills, I mean, they've looked like they have put a lot of people to shame this year. The predictions, the predilections about how good they were going to be or if they were going to be a playoff team. I mean, they have just put that shit to bed. I mean, the rushing attack with James Cook is just look phenomenal. Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level, you know, dragging guys into the end zone and shit. I mean, it's you know, the lateral between Cooper to him for the touchdown. This team's firing on all cylinders right now. They're doing everything they need to team-wise to win. Josh Allen just murdered this defense. Like I said, it wasn't really much to talk about if you're a 49ers fan. If you're from a 49ers perspective, it was pretty horrible. If you're, like I said, Buffalo, they did everything they're supposed to, and they pretty much clinched the AFC East after that game. So credit to the Buffalo Bills. Outstanding season so far. We'll see how it goes in the playoffs. If and when they run into Kansas City again, we'll see how it goes. But outstanding season. Definitely shut a lot of the haters up. Key takeaways, though, for this year, for this game, excuse me. Bills are a force. Will they be able to get past Kansas City will be the question. But the Bills are a force. They are definitely not to be, you know, trifled with or slept on for a fact. 49ers are in huge trouble. You don't even know how long McCaffrey's going to be out going into next year. This really alters a lot of plans off-season wise on what they have to do. They may have to start looking towards the future as far as like what the plan is going to be post Christian McCaffrey, because I'm not sure we're going to see the same Christian McCaffrey again. I'm not sure. I think we'll see a good Christian McCaffrey. I think we'll see a form of him. I don't know if we'll see that great dominant player that we saw that was Offensive Player of the Year a year ago. Because to have the Achilles injury and then to have the knee injury and then, you know, like I said, they're in trouble. I already talked about the Bills securing a playoff berth. And the 49ers ultimately, like I said, they need to rebuild this roster. I know that that's an unpopular opinion right now. I know a lot of people are kind of thinking like, well, no, they shouldn't really break this team up. They just need to be healthy. This team is never healthy. This team is never healthy. You know, going into, you know, this week's game, you know, the week 14 games, they got guys out and injuries. So it's one of those things where, like I said, I don't know if they're going to be able to fix all the problems this coming off season, but it might be in their best interest to get a decent draft pick somewhere between 7 and 12 and really just draft the best player available and try to do your best. Now, keep in mind, I don't necessarily have a huge amount of faith in Kyle Shanahan's draft picks early rounds. Later rounds, undrafted free agents, compensatory picks, yeah. You know, and we'll see how Ricky Pearsall develops. I think he could be something, but he's got to rebuild this roster. You try to squeeze the juice out of the orange one more time, and it has not worked, and put them in a very precarious situation going forward for 2025 and 2026. And last but not least, we're going to wrap up with the Monday Night Football game, which was Browns versus Broncos. This was a very fucking exciting game. I was very thrilled watching this. I cannot lie to you. Jameis Winston has played at an amazing level. Like I said, the Broncos won 41-32. This game was high flying back and forth. But before I go into the Broncos, I want to touch on the Browns and Jameis Winston preferably. Jameis Winston has played himself into either another contract with another team, or he's guaranteed himself the backup role for this team next year. It's almost startling to think how good this team, or average this team could have been if he had played a lot earlier. 58 passing attempts, 34 completions, 497 yards. He did have the multiple interceptions, but again, this Denver defense has been getting that out of a lot of quarterbacks this year. They've made a lot of quarterbacks look very ass and pedestrian. And you got to give it to him too, because Denver made a concerted effort to take the running game away. You know, Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb, they both had 9 carries apiece, but neither was anything stood out to you. A couple first downs by those guys, but nothing, no big gains. I think the longest run that Chubb had was 10 yards, And the longest run Jerome Ford had was 21 yards. So again, you had 77 yards combined because even Jameis Winston got in on the rushing attack. So again, not really much there. Ball distribution, again, bulk of these passes went to Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Jerry Jeudy was showing his ass. He definitely wanted to get revenge. It sucks that it didn't work out for him. They didn't get the win, but 9 receptions, 235 yards and a touchdown. He went off. Like I said, great game. Elijah Moore also played well. 8 catches, 111 yards. And Njoku got on the action. He had 2 of the touchdowns, 2 of the 3 of Jameis's touchdowns. This team, man, 4 touchdowns. Excuse me, I said 3. This team, man, honestly, God truth, it's sad. Just like the Bengals, their front office owes this team an apology. How the fuck did you not get these guys, like, you get Deshaun Watson out of here sooner? How did you not make that decision and realize that, like, your investment is just flopping and he's nowhere near the level or caliber or talent of what you thought you were paying for? Buyer's remorse in the first place. The guy didn't even fucking want to be there. He told you already he didn't want to be there. So you came back with more money and then said, well, let's see if he wants to be there now. Just bad. Just bad. But yeah, Jerry Jeudy, Jameis Winston went off. And it's crazy too, because there was a couple of times that Jameis had Jerry Jeudy wide open in the corner of the end zone and he didn't connect or hit those passes in the back of the end zone. Not sure what happened there. Not sure why that happened the way it did, but missed opportunities. The pick sixes, though, that was really the momentum swings. Because honestly, if those don't happen, it really changes the whole way of the game for Cleveland. They probably have a chance to win this game, but the pick sixes doomed them. But again, enough about the Browns. The Broncos and Bo Nix. Bo Nix may have proven that he will be the offensive player of the year. Bo Nix played an outstanding game. In my opinion, I've seen a lot of Bo Nix games this year, but this was probably the best one I've seen. 18 of 35, 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Now, again, you're probably going like, well, how in the hell was that his best game? No, there was a couple balls that he threw up there that were kind of, what I call fuck it passes, where you're just throwing it deep and heaving it. However, when you're sitting there really looking at it, that deep pass he threw to Mims for 93 yards and a touchdown, how accurate and decisive he was with the ball. Bo Nix has just been playing. He was on fire that night. And he's been playing at a high level throughout the year. Like I said, costly interceptions at certain points. I felt like it definitely could have cost the Broncos, but he played well. The Broncos defense kind of had me a little nervous because, Cleveland was easily moving the ball on him. Cleveland was definitely moving the ball on him. So that's definitely something you got to consider and keep in mind. But again, the pick sixes is what ultimately saved Denver. Key takeaways. Why is Jerry Jeudy just now producing? Was it really quarterback? Was it really organization? Was it coach? I don't know. But if he continues to produce at a level like this, he's going to justify one of the moves out of the 3 that they've made within the past 3 years as far as major trades. Because outside of him, the Deshaun Watson trade was horrible. Letting go Joe Flacco, at least in the backup role, definitely didn't look like a great decision. And I'm interested to see what they do with Jameis, but I'm just shocked at how Jerry Judy's playing. Jerry Jeudy is, like I said, I don't know if it's coach, quarterback, organization, whatever it is, but shout out to Jerry Jeudy. Don't know what has got him producing now, but he's definitely doing it. Also, the Broncos will be a force come playoff time, definitely in the wild card round. They're 8-5 right now, 4-2 at home. So they definitely got a chance. They got to win a couple more games to kind of secure that playoff spot. But I just definitely feel like they'll be a force in the playoffs. They just seem like a team that's going to be a tough out no matter who they play. Like I said, and Bo Nix will be Offensive Rookie of the Year. I just really feel like he's played at a phenomenal level this year. Jane Daniels has kind of fallen off as far as his play. He had a great showing against the Titans, but again, it's the Titans. This was important for the Broncos and Bo Nix, and like I said, great game. It was a great game to see. But that's going to do it for this episode and the wrap up of Week 13. I will have a video. It's a reaction video for the Eagles-Panthers game. I also have a recap video for Week 14. So definitely stay tuned, guys. Continue to plug in. Definitely be providing the content as quickly and as promptly as I can. Thank you as always. Continue to enjoy your Sunday. God bless. Happy holidays and take care.